if you believe self-consciously that you're not worthy of being respected, you will find people that don't respect you. And then your ego will say, see, we were right.
We men, we need something bad, or we need something like really emptiness in order to wake up. There's something more from life.
I moved to Miami and kind of left that part of entertainment behind, was really kind of acknowledging on some level that this thing that I wanted for a long time and that I had some success in really wasn't aligned with. It wasn't making me happy.
You left one evil background for another evil background. So I don't know where's the upgrade, brother. I'm sorry. Like, I'm gonna take advantage of it. And now with the biohacking and everything is going on, 140, 150 is like a normal goal. Like,
100%.
Yeah.
But I think helping men get back to that point, that's really the important point, because society needs good, healthy men, healthy masculinity.
You don't need to get to the top financially, because if you're miserable when you have $1,000, you're gonna be miserable when you have $100 million. It doesn't change.
Every man that I know, over 40, that I represented that were hyper successful in some of these areas, were in equal part miserable or restless or unhealthy or whatever else. Yeah, you're gonna lose some friends, you might leave a job, you might get divorced. If those things aren't aligned with you, that's gonna happen. You have to be willing to let those things go.
Yesterday, they said we start talking, and it was like the best podcast material.
Yeah, this is the stuff. This is
the stuff. And it's funny that even like what you said, because you said it like right in the order, that it's you do first unconsciously everything what the parents, grandparents, everybody just programmed you, and this is not it.
No, this is not.
Because what happened, we've done everything for everybody else but us.
Yeah.
And then it comes like a point in life that's like, no, now it's me. Now I got to fill out my bucket. I got to fill out where is me first. Well, okay, yeah. When I make some money, when I do business, when I do something,
then I'll be myself.
And then I'm by myself. But then comes the kids. First they come my wife. Then a little bit more with the business. Then comes the wife.
You're making her happy.
Then exactly. And then the kids happy. And suddenly your business is growing. So now you don't have one employee. You have 10 employees. The 10 employees become 20 employees. When I get to this level, there's like, what the hell? And then suddenly like 2 years goes by, 5 years goes by, 10 years goes by, 20 years goes by. It's like, shit, again. And we never put ourselves first because we run our self-conscious mind that that's what the reality is. That's how life's supposed to be.
Right. It's the programming, right? When I got divorced, I remember going to a therapist when I got divorced, and I remember her telling me, she said, tomorrow, it was Friday, and she said on Saturday, it's a weekend, I want you to just go do like the best day that you could have. Take yourself on a date. What do you want to do? I could not come up with a day. It was so foreign to me. The idea that I'm just going to do something for myself and it's not going to be for anybody else was like, I couldn't even comprehend it. I mean, it's strange thinking of it now, but I realize, to your point, how conditioned I was to only living for other people, right? And I think as you correct, it's not that you thereafter should become a narcissistic, self-involved asshole, right? That's not the answer either.
But that's it's funny. I thank you that you're touching the subject, because I talk a lot about self-love, and I always got to defend myself. There's a huge, they're not even connect. Self-love and narcissism, it's completely two different, it's a two spectrum on two different things.
Right.
Because self-love, you truly, truly love yourself, and you see all the issues, all the problems, all the trauma, all the insecurities, where narcissism is you pretend that you love yourself, that you're selfish, taking care of yourself in front of the eyes of the others.
Right.
And then you don't do nothing, everything about you, like a 2-year-old child.
Right.
That like is egocentric, there's everything about me.
Right.
Because you can, you know what I mean? So when I tell people, hey, like, especially like man, it's like, dude, you need to be selfish.
Right.
And then what do you mean? Selfish is a bad word. But dude, you need to fill out your freaking bucket.
Right.
Like you running an empty tank.
Right. Right.
Your wife is suffering, your kids are suffering, your employees, your business, everybody's suffering.
Right.
Everybody's suffering.
Right.
But like you said, how? If I've been running this program, I've been running this software for my entire life, that's the only thing I know.
Right. Well, that's the hardest part, right? I think it's almost like, what is it in addiction circles? They say, the first step is admitting you have a problem. That's also the easiest step, right? Witnessing or acknowledging in yourself that you've been running on autopilot and that you've been running programs based on what you heard when you were growing up, based on what you saw, based on the stories you told yourself. Understanding that you've been running a program and that's really not getting you, or that those aren't the programs you need for the next phase of your life. The reprogramming is the hard stuff, because I think what a lot of people fail to understand is they almost feel like, oh, well, now that I've acknowledged that it's like sitting here talking. Now that, you can acknowledge with someone that they're running the wrong programs. Okay, guess what? 98%, it's like an iceberg. 98% of the mass is underwater. It's subconscious, right? You consciously acknowledging to yourself or to friends or family that you've been running the wrong program is like the top 2%. It's like, okay, now we got to reprogram the 98% that's all running subconsciously. That doesn't matter that you can, this is when you talk to people that say, for example, I want this in a relationship. And then you look at what they're actually doing, and they're actually attracting the exact opposite, right? I want to be respected. I want to be loved.
But they do respect everybody around them.
Right. And then you look at what they're actually attracting, and you realize, okay, well, you might consciously want X, Y, and Z, but your subconscious programs that are running, that have been running this whole time, actually believe something different, right? So like if you believe self-consciously that you're not worthy of being respected, you will find people that don't respect you. Mm-hmm. And then your ego will say, see, we were right. Mm-hmm. You're not worthy of being respected. Mm-hmm. Your ego loves being right. Mm-hmm. So that, I think, at least for myself, and I think for most other people, it's the reprogramming that's the hardest part.
But Eric, so, like we're on the same road, right? I mean, we got successful in your part of your bubble, and you're like, this is not it.
Yeah.
Okay, so we men, I don't want to generalize it, not every single man, not every single woman. We need something bad, or we need something like really emptiness in order to wake up. There's something more from life. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's it. Because it's like, because what happened, we climbed the ladder, it was like, shit, I thought I want this Mount Everest, that's what I was wanted, and then you on the Mount Everest, it's like, what the hell, what next?
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I think you're right. I think we typically do. We are by nature we're somewhat lazy, right? I mean, I think we can train ourselves to be disciplined and not be lazy, but it doesn't come naturally for most people. For most of us, we're lazy. So when you think about, look, one of the favorite films I love films because mm-hmm. they're storytelling, and you remember the stories, right? Mm-hmm. A picture's worth 1,000 words, and you watch The Matrix. You see Neo. He has a sense that something's wrong. He's not totally content at work, but he goes to work every day. And he'll see things, and he's a little discontent, and he's working on his computer and kind of feels like there's something off, feels like he's not quite tuned in with, he feels a yearning, let's say. But it's not urgent, right? It's not until Morpheus starts contacting him and kind of instigating it, and then the agents see Morpheus contacting them, and then shit gets very real for him, right? They show up at work. Even then, right, he's on the side of the building, and he's talking to Morpheus. It's like, this can't be right. This is crazy. It takes a lot to wake up, right? It takes a lot. And to your point, sometimes...
Why are we so stubborn? We don't want to wake up because we're holding to the old version that was programmed by our generation, by our parents, grandparents, like they've been programmed, and everybody's holding. Just stay here.
It's really hard giving up on beliefs, man. It's like, it's like trying to talk to someone who's religious to, let go of their religious beliefs, man. It's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen, right? I think about that, what would it take for people, I have friends that still live in Los Angeles and are in kind of a willful denial of the state of decay. and will complain about homelessness and about violence and about taxes and about everything else, and will still vote for all the same people with all the same policies that got them there. And for so long, I just asked myself, like, why? How? What are they not seeing? Like, what? These are smart people. These are successful, smart people. What are you not seeing? It's like, it's like if you were complaining about being overweight and being tired all the time, but you wouldn't go to the gym and you eat junk food every day. It's like, if your best friend came and told you that, you'd be like, really? You're not connecting the dots here?
You don't.
But it's because they'd have to believe something different. They'd have to believe, or they'd have to acknowledge that maybe their political leanings or their political beliefs were wrong. And it's really hard for people to do.
But it doesn't even political religion. It's just your own belief. It's just like, truly,
they become our identity.
Matrix. We live in the matrix that we created.
Yeah, you're right. We're living in our own prisons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I always talk about it. I have a friend that got 16 lives in jail. And, he got pardoned by Obama. And he came to my house. And I remember, like, we were sitting in my house. I have this huge, like, 50, 60-foot ceilings. And we just gorgeous home views and everything else. He goes, like, I spent 16 years in prison. I knew I'm going to spend the rest of my life. And I was free. And I'm just looking in his eyes. I was like, what the I live in prison.
Right.
I create my own emotional
Self-imposed
jail.
prison.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I have the whole world to travel. I have the whole, like, anything I can imagine. But I created, and I was like, is this what I needed? Like seriously, to wake me up? The divorce, the kids, and the ski accident. Like, and I was like still stubborn. You know what I mean? And suddenly, like, boom. But a lot of men, like women, connect consciously and subconsciously and unconsciously a lot quicker. They have like the chakras connected. We men, we gotta hit something, or we gotta get to the top of the top that we thought this is the top, and there's like, no, there's more tops. Because on the air of the millions, there's no, after 10, 100 million, there's nothing else that you can buy, that you can spend. I'm like, shit, there's no fulfillment.
Right.
So
right.
Whoever listening to this right now, you don't need to get to the top financially, because if you're miserable when you have $1,000, you're gonna be miserable when you have $100 million. It doesn't change.
Right.
It's still you know what I mean? I always say,
Right.
There's no miserable weather. You are miserable.
Right.
And this is time. Doesn't matter what age you are. And like Eric is saying, and what I love it is, it's hard to reprogram the software. So the younger you are, if you're listening, the easier for you it is.
Right.
Because it's hard when you have all this stuff going on for you to let it go. And
Yeah,
surrender.
absolutely. And I thought a lot about that. I've been working on a book, and one of the aspects has really been around this idea of the programming that you're running on and reprogramming it. And for a while I thought, it would be so much better to just learn this early, right?
Yeah.
Like, I wish that I had learned it 20 years before.
But you think we
But
would
the problem
listen?
is
We would
we
hear
wouldn't have
it.
listened. Yeah, that's the realization I came to, is we
Look at
wouldn't
me,
have listened.
holy shit.
Yeah, we wouldn't
Right?
have listened.
We probably heard it, but it just like completely passed us by.
Yeah, you wouldn't have listened because, at a certain point in life, you're just, especially when you're like 20s, early 30s, like you're so focused on just the build. You're so focused on like achieving, and making people happy, so on and so forth. It's like you said, it's like once you bought 160 homes around your high school, at some point it's enough. And at some point you go, I proved my point. I won. Now I can let that go. It's hard to let that go early. It's hard to say to a 20-year-old self, it's not even a battle you want to fight. It's not even worth fighting. You're focused on the wrong things.
Yep.
Right? I think it's virtually impossible to do. So instead, I've really been more focused on, how do you, it's like, okay, how can I be more like a Morpheus in the Matrix, right? How do you help, and you're doing this, how do you help wake people up, right? The guys that are in their 40s,
We're doing this right now.
in their 50s, feel like something's wrong, don't feel that fulfilled, not sure what it is, they don't feel dangerous anymore, right? They don't feel hungry anymore. And they're living their entire lives. And by the way, a lot of this system really has been built to kind of, let's say not to keep you in prison, but to encourage those beliefs, right? Like, there's been a war on masculinity, right? Unquestionably. And you can debate where did it come from, who's pulling the string. That's not really the point, right? The point really is there has been a war on masculinity. And there are a lot of people, sometimes your family, and this is a hard thing for people to hear, right? Might be your wife, might be your kids, could be your family. You ever read Atlas Shrugged by Ayn Rand? I mean, this is the tattoo I have here is Atlas. And I was a philosophy major undergrad and had never even heard of Ayn Rand. And she's one of the most important philosophers in Atlas Shrugged. It was written by a Russian, female Russian author, philosopher that came out of Russia, lived in communist Russia, came to the United States, saw how many of the beliefs that had really kind of imprisoned, those in communist Russia were starting to take foot in the United States, and was writing these books and had some movies that were kind of arguing against it. And it's an amazing book. Actually, at one point, I think I had read that there was like a survey, some huge number of top Fortune 100 CEOs thought this was the second most important book to the Bible for them. Like, it's a life-changing book when you read it. And at the end of the day, it's like a lot of men end up waking up and realize how expectations and obligations end up keeping you in a bit of a prison, or can keep you in a bit of a prison, because you're not really doing things anymore for yourself. You're really only doing things for other people. And there's nothing wrong with doing things for other people, as long as you know what you're doing and why you're doing it, right? So I saw you, speaking on another podcast about charitable giving, which is fantastic. And even, people like Ayn Rand talked about that. Like, charitable giving is great. Giving a gift to someone you love is great. Taking care of your kids is great. So, as long as you know why you're doing it, and that it's coming from a place of knowing that you're giving, and not from a place of guilt or, negative feelings and expectations that are being put on you, right? You're not doing it as a prisoner. You're doing it as a free man, right? A sovereign man who's choosing to, do things for those he loves, or do things at work, and so on and so forth. But I think there are so many expectations that get put on you about, this attack on masculinity ultimately becomes an attack on sovereignty, right? Becomes an attack on the things that we think of as being healthy masculine, right? So being physical. I mean, it's crazy to see that even, there are kind of those in the social media sphere that almost demonize or make fun of men that are fit. It's like fitness is somehow right wing. Fitness is right wing, right? It's like being healthy. Since when is being healthy, a political thing? It shouldn't be a political thing, right? It should be something that, every man, to be whatever his political affiliation and beliefs, by the way, should have the freedom to think and believe in whatever he wants to believe in. But I think it's important to come from a place of physical strength. Jordan Peterson talks about that, right? And I think he's right. I think there's a big difference between being a nice man and a good man.
There's huge difference.
And I didn't understand that difference at all until, 10 years ago. I mean, it was, most of my life was really be a nice guy, right? And you kind of mistake getting along with everyone with being a good man. It's like, no, a good man is dangerous. A good man could kill you, could hurt you, could, can win in business, can do all these things, and chooses not to, right?
Yep.
Superman could look at someone with his eyes and, cut them in half with lasers, but he didn't, right? You respect a good man. A nice guy is just a weak man, and weak men are really dangerous.
But what happened is, like, we talk about the programming and changes how we prosper and how we work, because, like, we know it didn't work for us.
Well, but hold on, but it did.
I know it did.
It did.
I know it did. It did, but I almost took my own life.
Right.
I almost committed suicide.
It works up until a point.
Exactly.
Right.
And there is such a huge, like my podcast is about mental health and, and addressing the depression. And we're going to talk about the happiness because, we don't find the happiness, the anxiety, the suicides, all this stuff. So men, they don't have to go like out of 740,000, I think 2025, 760,000 people commit suicide. We got to get the statistic right. Like I did the number because I use the number a lot.
But it's far more affecting
And
men.
exactly, 95% it's men.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So how do we and you said it, let's just bring the awareness. None of this stuff, it matters. It matters like to fix it right now, whoever is listening. And, it's like you 40, 50, you're going to blame on something else. The kids are going out of college, empty nester, career is on autopilot, your business, you don't have to work or, you just put, so, but it started 20 years prior.
Mm-hmm.
So how do we, and that's why I want to talk to you about what truly the happiness is.
What happiness is.
Yeah, so you don't hit the depression, you don't hit the middle life crisis, you don't hit the suicidal, because those are men between 37 to 52, which, by the way, I just crossed the line.
Right. Right. You're out of the most dangerous zone.
Yeah.
No, there's a huge epidemic, right? I mean, the suicide. There's this age, right, between 37 and around 52 that most people would describe as midlife crisis. But it's a point at which men kind of start to really feel the weight of what they've been living with, right? Like the consequences. So, in the first part of your life, for example, feeling like you weren't enough or feeling like you needed to do more, feeling obligated, made you a great worker, made you a great hustler, made you, work harder in business, right?
It did work.
It got you the money. It got you outward respect. It didn't get you inward respect necessarily. It got you it for a little bit because you felt proud, right? But it didn't give you real sovereignty because you were still running everybody else's
It fit my
programs.
ego, though.
Right. Good for your ego.
If it, oh
Great for
my
your
God,
ego.
it was like steak and lobster, on
Right,
3
right,
times a day.
right,
You know what I mean? It was
right.
like, yeah, you got this.
And that's the initial what a lot of men feel, right? Is they get that and they go, man, I finally got the car, finally got a girl that I'm really into. Like life is good. And you feel like you're done. You feel like I have more to do, but basically I won. And then at a certain point in life, it's kind of like, again, going back to the movie The Matrix, right? At a certain point in life, you're Neo and something starts kind of
Just so you know, I
nagging
love
at
it.
you.
I love that you're comparing metrics because
Yeah.
I really do believe that we create a bubble. Our bubble is a
100%.
matrix. This is
100%.
like you sitting in this room, you guys hear like everything.
It looks like
all
the
this
Matrix.
shit. Yeah, seriously, it is.
Yeah.
It is.
So I think men will start feeling that tinge, something's off, and it starts as a feeling. You can't quite put words to it.
But whoever is listening right now and still is here, he knows it's something off.
For
Or
sure.
she or he.
For sure.
Whoever is still on at this
For sure.
minute and watching this is like,
Right.
what the hell? Where are they
You know
going with
something's
this shit?
off.
There's
Something's
something
off, right?
yeah.
And it's like, but I got the great car out front, right? I'm sitting at my office. I mean, I was exactly that guy. It's like I grew up. I really loved creative stuff. I loved music. I was a musician. I wanted to be a musician growing up. Long hair, was in bands, whatnot. And man, I got so much shit for that from everyone. It was like, my dad's like, man, you're going to be a starving artist. The school's like, you're And at some point, probably around 17, 18, I was like, okay, cut my hair, start trying to study, stop this music stuff. Like I kind of put my own desires aside. It's like, I'm just going to start playing this game. And it went really well. Went to UCLA, graduated with honors, took the MCAT, took the LSAT, went to a great law school, got out, worked for a big firm, got a car. And for a little while, like you said, it works. For a little while, you're eating good food, you're dating, you feel like, okay, like maybe they were right. This is it, right? And it gets you to a certain place. But after a while, and I think that's around 37 in your 40s, it starts hitting. You start realizing I wasn't really doing any of this for myself. I was doing all of this for parents, for the school, for the girl, for the whatever, for everybody else. Wasn't really doing it for me. And that's the nagging feeling.
May I say, like, because I don't know if you felt, but I felt I did everything to satisfy them. Everything. Like, even with my businesses, to prove my dad, like, to prove my dad was harsh on me.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
Of course.
none of the shit was like I wanted.
None of it.
None.
Yeah. That's the realization.
Why nobody told me when I was 18?
Right. And I think that's that point in the matrix where you just start that nagging feeling and you can't quite put a word to it, because admitting this is what's really hard, right? And I'm sure you went through this. I went through this.
But I want your story. I want, like, how did you get it? Like,
well, I think it often manifests as unhappiness, restlessness, right? I became restless. I remember finally getting a job at the big corporate firm, having the degrees, getting the great job offer, having the nice car. And I remember being there for about a month and looking around and going, this is it? Like, I don't feel that happy. Like, I did it. I got where I was supposed to go. But I don't feel like this is really what I'm born to be doing. I don't think this is what I'm really supposed to be doing. And so I think it starts as a restlessness, and everybody deals with it differently. I think that's where drinking, drugs, affairs, gambling, all that stuff comes in to start masking, distracting yourself from the reality, which is that you're unhappy because you're not really living your own life. You're living someone else's life, right? You're playing a part. It's like they wrote the script and you're the actor. Mm-hmm. And at a certain point, you don't want to just be the actor, right? You want to like direct your own movie. You want to be the director. You want to be living your own movie.
I love it, because you're right. We live, we the actors for our parents.
Or
for our
teachers,
gurus, or for the teachers, priests, coaches.
Right.
Like, I was a swimmer, so for coaches, even actor for my friends,
right?
My close friends, all the girlfriends.
Girlfriends,
it's like,
sure, yeah, girlfriends. You start going out with the girl that you always, that you're really lusting after, and you start picking up on things. Right?
I love this shit. I'm gonna use this. So when you become the director of your own movie,
yeah,
so there's a graduation. So first we got to be actors. We got to be the actors going for the.
I don't know that. I feel like you do see some people. You know what? So my favorite artist of all time. I was a musician growing up, and I will argue anyone to the death that Prince is the greatest artist that we've had in modern history, like by far. Wrote an ungodly amount of music, had so many hit songs he was giving them to other people, could play 28 instruments, produced all his own music, could perform better than most. I mean, it was like he was on a completely different level. I don't think he was ever an actor. He was always directing his own movie, like from the beginning. And I've gone back to when he was in his teens and doing his first records. He was always like, I'm like, they wanted to have someone else produce it. No, I'm doing it. But it's a really small fraction, because it's so hard to have that level of confidence and belief in yourself at that age. I would say, it's 1 in a million that has that. And that's why I think most of us who consider ourselves, capable alpha men have to come to terms with the fact that at some point you were programmed. And I don't mean programmed in even an evil way, right? There are some bad parents and bad teachers and things that kind of will manipulate you. By the way,
but they were
bad women that will
unconsciously,
manipulate you.
like they weren't on the same software that we were running, and they were not aware of it.
Right, exactly. Because everybody's running on. So few people break out of the matrix, right? So few people, because it's really hard, and it's not that pretty at first, right? You have to value living a true life over living a pretty life. And at a certain point, if you achieve enough success, as you have, and you can avoid going all the way down the hole and ending your life or something like that. If you could do that, you've got enough resources to still have a pretty life, but then now start living a true life, right? And I think that's where a lot of men that I see that are successful, right? They're lawyers, they're doctors, they're business people, they're real estate agents, whatever it is. They've achieved some measure of success in their own lives, but they feel restless, unfulfilled. They don't feel as happy as they feel like they should feel. They feel like, you start feeling like I'm losing time, right? You get to a point where you're like, man, I'm not 21 years old anymore, right? And you
I'm 53. I feel like I'm 21.
well, now you do. But
seriously, like God give me another chance. God give me another chance. So I'm like, I'm gonna take advantage of it. And now with the biohacking and everything is going on, 140, 150 is like a normal goal. Like
100%.
Yeah.
But I think helping men get back to that point, that's really the important point, because society needs good, healthy men, masculine, healthy masculinity, right? Society needs it. Your families need it. Your kids need it. You need it, right? It's better for us as a group and individually for men to regain their vitality, to live true lives, to get to reprogram the stuff that needs to be reprogrammed. And you're ultimately, as I'm sure you would say, you're, I'm sure, happier than you were at 43 or at 33 or at 23. You're happier now, right?
That doesn't even compare.
Much more sovereign. Doesn't even compare.
No,
I feel the same way.
No,
I
it's
feel
completely
like
different.
I wouldn't go back.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wouldn't go back. And that's a beautiful place to be, right? Because you see so many people that as they age are kind of, yearning for, reminiscing about how much better things were back then. It's like, no, that's you're on the wrong path if that's out.
Eric, I want to be 60.
Right.
And be like, what's wrong with you? Like, I'm like, dude, can you imagine the wisdom and all the lessons, all the experience I'm gonna gain, and like my awareness, my consciousness is gonna be a lot bigger, and I'm gonna have a lot bigger, faith, love, abundance. You know what I mean? It's like in it. It's like and it's funny. I want to be there now, but the next 7 years, it's gonna be the best journey. Because that's we learn all this stuff. This is what the life is all about.
Well, and now you can look forward to 60 because you realize I'm in the driver's seat. This is my life. Like, you're in control now, right? You're the director of your own movie now. And that's a much more exciting place to be because it's more empowering and it's more sovereign. And, look, for the last 25 years, I always tell people I represented the lottery winners, right? The artists, the entrepreneurs that were billionaires, the Grammy winners, the influencers that had 20 million followers on whatever platform, like the lottery winners. Like, these are the people that people look at and go, man, I wish I had this, I wish I had that. And because as a lawyer, as a consigliere, you see all the trash, right? I was the one that would hear the stories and see the trash that other people didn't see. The behind the scenes stuff. And I would just be amazed with, how many people that I would work with that I would say, man, the world doesn't know. Like, they don't see what's really good. They see the social media posts. They see the car. They see the vacation. They see the title. They don't know what's really going on underneath. And virtually, almost without exception, every man that I know, over 40, that I represented that were hyper successful in some of these areas were in equal part miserable or restless or unhealthy or whatever else. And it really was amazing to me because at first you say to yourself, how could you be unhappy? You've got X, Y, and Z, right? And then you start realizing because these people are not directors in their own movies anymore. Like, they're just they're playing a part. And it's that tension of feeling like, man, I don't really want to give up the part, because that's going to be uncomfortable, right? But I really need to be myself. And that might mean I'm going to make some changes. And there are ways that you can do that in really positive, directions. I think, as I said, look, what are the biggest levers? As like, when I talk to men and I say, look, you're not going to be able to really be sovereign if this physical body that you're inhabiting is in shambles, right? Get your testosterone tested. Figure out a way to get your diet mostly right. Go to the gym. You got to strength train. You've got to get your body right. And even for years, man, I worked at these big law firms. So when I was in college, I was really into, all I did in college was study and go to Gold's Gym. I lived in LA, so I went to Gold's Venice, the Mecca, and I would work out. I was huge, and people in college just could not make sense of me. There was like, why is this? At the time, I had blonde hair and looked like surfer hair, and this 240-pound jacked guy. What's he doing in philosophy? What's he doing in pre-med? And as I kind of continued playing the game, when I eventually started working at large corporate law firms, I realized I just wanted to fit in. So like, I tried not to be big. I tried, I loved motorcycles. I didn't talk about motorcycles. I tried to just talk about and be how everybody else was to try to fit in. It's a huge, kind of survival instinct. It's like, I need to fit in with those around me so that I can do well and get promoted and whatnot. But ultimately, when you're denying who you really are, you become really unhappy. Mm-hmm. And at the same time, I was doing a lot of work in entertainment. And, what I realized after a certain amount of time was that I was so misaligned with the industry that I was working within. Entertainment industry, like some other industries, but it's very much a status preservation industry. And you see this when you start working in, I think politics is the same way, right? That truth is really subverted to just maintaining status, right? So if you're someone that really believes in meritocracy, if you're someone that really believes in speaking your mind, if you're someone that really believes in thinking independently, it's really hard to do well in a status preservation because it's threatening to the people around you. It's threatening to the people above you. It's threatening to those in power. And so people keep quiet, right? It's like when you look at all the I saw a video the other day of all the actors and actresses praising Harvey Weinstein. It's like, you all came out later saying that this guy was terrible, but you were all praising him for years and you knew exactly what was going on. It's really hard to challenge, to upset the system. So I think a lot of men also end up finding themselves working in a system that they're not aligned with, like at their core, right? If you're really going to be true to yourself, your values and the values of this industry or this company or whatever that you're working in are not aligned. And the only way to come into alignment is you're going to have to let that go. And I think that was a big part of, when I moved to Miami and kind of left that part of entertainment behind, was really kind of acknowledging on some level that like this thing that I wanted for a long time and that I had some success in really wasn't aligned with. It wasn't making me happy.
You left one evil background for another evil background. So I don't know where's the upgrade, brother. I'm sorry. Like you are brave.
Yeah, it was. It's interesting, man. I think, as I said before, I have a friend in LA that he would call me his favorite midlife crisis, and he said it in like a loving way, and I was like, dude, this isn't a midlife crisis. This is actually who I was supposed to be, right? Me going back and loving going to the gym and loving being fit and putting these tattoos on, and this was shit I wanted to do 30 years ago. I just didn't think I could. I didn't think that it was allowed. And at a certain point, I started saying, I don't want to be an actor in somebody else's movie anymore. I gotta be myself.
So what is in your new movie?
A lot of it is really, as I said, I found myself being hired to be a lawyer, and I ended up spending most of my time being a consigliere. Like, it was fascinating to me that, I'd end up getting on the phone with some of these clients, some of these middle-aged male successful clients. It was like we'd spend 5 minutes talking about a contract and 40 minutes about the issues that they're having with the girlfriend and what this means and how it's f***ing their lives up. And by the way, the number of men I've seen that have just torpedoed themselves and their careers for relationships or toxic relationships is astonishing. Like, it's astonishing. You think about like, I worked with Johnny Depp for a bit. Like you think of guys like him, right? And like how much he went through for one relationship, for one woman, which is not to say, by the way, this is not in any way saying that women are bad or any of that. It's that the wrong relationship, by the way, it could be a work relationship with, a male colleague that's really toxic. Could be a female relationship. Like toxic relationships
I would say take one relationship to take you to prison, or one relationship takes you to the $1 billion club.
Absolutely.
And that doesn't, when I talk about money, I don't think about financially, but emotionally, mentally, it gets you to the top of the world or to the prison.
Right.
You know what I mean? Or that.
Right.
And it's truly one relationship, because
Right.
the one relationship, then your bubble, your inner world change, and then your bubble, because then you attract, because you have this aura around you, and then the frequency attract the same people.
Right.
And this is only one person,
Right.
just one.
Right.
How did I end up with those 5?
Right.
Show me your 5 friends, you become the 6th one. But before you get to the 5, it doesn't start like suddenly you don't get in your life like 5. It doesn't happen.
Right.
It starts with 1.
Right.
Just 1.
Right.
Just
Right.
1. Nobody else.
Right.
People don't get that.
Yeah, and I think, when I thought about why is it normally women, I think it's because for most men,
Because we are dogs.
well, yes, we're dogs, but yes, we're dogs. Yes, we're innately we're dogs, but I think that a lot of men's deepest wounds, insecurities, and programming manifest in their romantic relationships. They can also manifest in your work, your clients, who you attract as clients, who you chose as a business partner. You can also see it there. But who's the one person as a man that you're most affected by? Who are you going to bed with at night? Who are you waking up with?
But even if you straight, you have a woman. If you're gay or lesbian, whatever, it doesn't matter. It's your partner. Because what happened is we spend the most time with ourselves. And we don't know how to spend ourselves. Like, I have every day date myself, Jarek. It's an hour a day. I
Right.
date myself.
Right.
And everybody knows. Get the away from me.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'm dating myself right now.
Right.
But the second person, it's your partner. It doesn't matter if you're straight, gay, whatever. It doesn't matter.
Right.
It's your partner.
Right.
That person can make you. And remember, I'm horrible when it comes to relationships. Dude, I'm 0 for 3. You know what I mean? I already got through 2 divorces.
Right.
Don't listen to me on the relationship advice. I'm not the guy. I definitely, my rate is 0. So that's the person, and that's.
Yeah, look, that's the person. I mean, but that's my point, right? Who you choose romantically often is the biggest indicator of what you really believe about yourself and what your real desires are. So I think that's why we see it's so easy for men to get into bad relationships, because we're so easily seduced, right? In that most basic way. But oftentimes what we're attracted to is really a function, a lot of times, of that unconscious programming, right? So if you believe that you're not good enough deep down, you might outwardly say, I'm a badass and look at what I drive and look at where I live. But if you feel inside that you're really not good enough, you'll attract a partner that makes you feel like you're not good enough.
I went to the live it
You've done
for
it.
25 years. Get it.
100%.
Get it.
Yep. And when you really
Stem
look at
right here.
Yeah.
That's, I mean, we can finish the podcast right now. That's it.
Right.
And
But
not only the partner, people around you too.
For sure. When I got divorced, I realized, I kind of left the law partner I was working with. I left my relationship. I realized that these things that I believed about myself that were really not healthy were manifesting in who I worked with, who I woke up and went to bed with. The most important people around me, right? And they were all people that made me feel not good enough, right? Got to do more, never being satisfied. And I realized, well, that's coming from me, right? At a certain point, you have to take responsibility. And so when I bring this up around relationships, around coworkers, it's not to blame them. I always say, you're the one that brought them in. right? I'm the one that asked her to go out, dated her for however long, slept with her, married her. Like, it was me. I did it. So I think for most men, it's really having some radical responsibility and realizing, stop. You can recognize the toxic aspects of a relationship, but you've got to take responsibility for you being in that relationship. No one put a gun to your head. You chose that relationship, or you chose that boss, you chose that job, you chose that partner, or whatever it is, right? You chose it. On some level, you chose it, which is also empowering.
But you see, Eric, the reason that we're holding back because we don't want. I do. I mean, I take accountability for freaking everything and everybody. But I'm not a normal one. But a lot of people don't want to take accountability. They don't. They think that's the victim of the circumstances. And I'm like, I always tell people, the second you start blaming anything or anybody, you're in the victim, environment. It's you.
Right.
It's you.
It's 100% you.
It's not your parents.
Right.
It's not your teacher. It's not your wife.
Right.
It's not your husband.
Right.
It's not your brother. It's not your sister. It's not the business. It's not the economy. It's not Trump. It's not Biden. It's not Republican, Democrat. Really, it's you.
Right.
And then it's time. Look in the mirror.
Right.
And stare in your eyes.
Right.
And spend time with yourself.
Right.
And it's like, holy shit.
Right. Yeah. Look, it all starts with yourself, right? And at the end of the day, when you look at your life and you start doing an audit, right? If you're the man that's listening to this that feels like there's something wrong, feels like you're restless, feels like you're avoiding some of these deeper feelings with drugs, drinking, whatever it is, right? Things that you know are kind of bad for you, but you're doing them to try to cope with something. Ultimately, you do have to uncover the programming. You have to know what the programming was. And part of that is going back. Part of that is going to be looking at how you're raised. Sometimes it's parents, sometimes it's school, sometimes it's, early, whatever. The point is not to blame them and then to become the victim. The point is simply to understand what were their beliefs about you and the world that they gave to you that are not serving you anymore. So it's purely to identify what your programming is. Once you've done that, you're not a victim. You have the power to reprogram. From here on out, it's on you. So I don't want to hear about your wife this, your parents that, your job this. Like, from here on out, it's all you. So don't talk about
Eric,
anything else.
So I've been on my journey for really from suicide 4.5 years, but I've been now 5 years in February. But I still go rage sometimes. Like I go through, dig out of that. The old version of Jarek is like, I need you. Come here. He comes in, fight the fight, this shit up. Okay, I put you away.
Right.
And it's like, it takes years. That's what it's like. People don't want to do the work.
Look, man, it's
like they think, okay, I got it. I got to program myself. Like, like you take your iPhone, it's like, and it's not that quick.
No, it takes time.
It's not.
It takes a lot of time. And it's kind of like, I think about it, it's like when people say about, being an alcoholic, you're always an alcoholic, right? You'll always have that in you. There are times when I'll get triggered by something and I'll hear that inner voice. I'm like, man, that's that old voice from when I was 20 years old. I remember that voice telling me this, telling me that, being negative, you're not good enough, you're not going to, causing you to be fearful. It's not that you're going to cure yourself and it's going to go away. It's that you're going to manage it. You're going to put it in a back room, and hopefully you're not going to hear very much from it again. And but it never goes away completely. So I think people expecting that, it's kind of like trying to get someone off drugs. It's like, look, if you end up going to a party and people are doing the drug that you were addicted to, you're probably going to feel a tinge of like, oh, what if? You're going to feel that. Doesn't mean you should follow it. And it doesn't mean that you're a failure for feeling it, right? It's like if you've been an alcoholic and, your friend's drinking and you start to feel like you want to drink, but you don't be mad at yourself for wanting to. Like, you're always going to have that, right? You're always going to have some of these insecurities, some of that programming stays. It's pretty hard to completely get rid of it. But if you can get rid of 90% of it, right? So that the programming that you're really running on is positive, right? And you're really living your own life, that's when you really start to become a sovereign man, right? That's when you start to really start living your life the way that you want to. And you're choosing the people that you're giving to, and you're choosing the things that you work on, and you're choosing where you're putting your energy and attention. It's not being chosen for you. And I think for a lot of men, that's really what's missing, right? Is they feel like, yes, they're successful, yes, but they're not really doing it for themselves. They're doing it for everyone else.
Because they want to, at least, I'm saying that I don't want to pinpoint anybody. I was doing to prove my worth.
100%.
You know what I mean?
Really important to men.
That's it.
It's important to everybody. I don't want to minimize it to women,
yeah,
but particularly for men, right? We are really judged by our value. Like, what do you bring, right? Do you have resources? Are you capable, right? I mean, that at the end of the day, men feel the weight of that, and there's nothing wrong with that, right? I mean, part of having healthy masculinity is protecting those that you love, right? There are certain masculine traits that are really admirable and that your family and society and everybody else really needs and you need. But ultimately, you really need to be able to look inside and say, well, who am I doing this for? And am I the author of my own life here, or am I doing this for somebody else? And that kind of awakening is the beginning, and then the reprogramming is really, and there are a lot of people, by the way, people like Joe Dispenza and others that talk at depth about the science of the reprogramming and how you reprogram. There are lots of people, you can spend a lot of time on YouTube and you can do a lot to learn how to reprogram. But it does take time, to your point. It takes time, it takes effort. It's never going to be perfect. It doesn't need to be perfect, right? It just needs to be good enough to where you really start living your own life, and you're creating your own goals, and you're your own author. And that becomes a very different place. And I think that's why you're in that place. When you're not in that place, if you're 42 and you're like, man, I'm not looking forward to 50. You're not the author of your own life, right?
And this is the bullshit. It's like, oh no. Yeah, I love it. Like when I was studying, my friends like, dude, when you turn 40, your whole body start breaking down. Like you old. And it's like, believe me, you won't be recovered as much. You won't be able as fuck as much. And it's like, dude, it's like 40. And then I could take this story and put it into my subconscious mind or into my mind and believe it in it. And I took this story. That's not going to be me.
Right.
That's it. Bullshit,
Right.
bullshit.
Not going to do it.
It's not me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So what happened is, it was like even there, it was like motivation. It's like, okay, what vitamins, what food, how I have to breathe, what I have to meditate, pray, workouts, no alcohol, no sugar, I was like, okay, give me more. I want to live 140. 40. This is like 5-year-old kid.
Right.
You know what I mean?
You're just beginning.
Yeah, it was like, wait a minute, 50 is like shit.
Right.
Like even at 60, I'm going to be, at 60, I'm not going to even want to live 140, 150. And this is tweaking my mind. I'm truly f***ing with my head so it doesn't play with me.
Right.
It's like, shit, if I want to live 150, 60, I'm not even halfway there.
No.
And the 20 years, I live completely unconscious. And now at 60, I have another 90 years of living consciously.
Right.
Like, holy shit, I have time to
You have
shit.
an entire life.
I have time to screw this up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Is it
Yeah.
possible I'm going to be run by the bus? Possible. Is it like, you know what I mean? I'm going to go jump out of the plane and the parachute's not going to open? Possible. Like, I'm going to get in a car accident? Possible. You know what I mean? But I'm not going to live like that. I just want to live every day, enjoy the moment. And it's like, that's it. That's what life is all about.
Right.
And even the hardships, the breakups, the friends that betrayed you, the financial losses, dealing with the kids' issues, life.
Right. No, absolutely. And I think you're describing a place that I think a lot of men really intuitively know that they want to get to, and that they can get to. I've had clients, I've had people that I've worked with I said, man, if you could give me a year, I could transform your life. I could give you such a different life. You'd feel different. You'd look different. You'd have confidence. You wouldn't be getting abused in relationships. You wouldn't be like I could really change this guy's life. But they got to be really willing to do it, right? That was the scene in The Matrix. It's like, which pill are you going to take? You know, you got to be willing to go through the uncertainty.
And the pill,
in
the Matrix is the pill. With us, it's like, which door do you choose? Which
Yeah.
direction?
Yeah.
And when you make a decision, you just go that way.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And it's just like really, it's just making the shift.
You got to be you got to be willing to make the shift, and then you're going to put in a lot of work. But man, you can get so far, even in a year, man. You can get so far in a year. It's like, man, you look at a man who's, you know, feels broken, like you said, feels like his body isn't there anymore, isn't having the sex life he wants, doesn't feel respected at home or at work. You give him a year, you get him going to the gym, you get his hormones tested, get him optimized, get him working out, get him eating and sleeping with the right stuff, get rid of alcohol, right? Start doing the reprogramming every morning, every night. You're doing the reprogramming, making the right choices. In a year, you can't even recognize that person. Totally different man in a year who isn't going to repeat the same mistakes. And yeah, you're going to lose some friends. You might leave a job. You might get divorced. If those things aren't aligned with you, that's going to happen. You have to be willing to let those things go, right?
You know, also the biggest thing, and as big as like a breakthrough for a lot of men and women, it's because entire life you do not set boundaries.
Right,
And suddenly you're setting boundaries for yourself.
right,
And you set the boundaries for everybody around you.
right,
Suddenly, like, you know, and they say, like, family think they're entitled to your time and entitled to the stupid comments and pain points. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, no, you're not.
right.
Because you know me 53 years, or, you know what I mean? It doesn't give you right at all.
Right.
You know what I mean? And
That's
it's
exactly right.
hard. It's hard to surrender. Like, you know,
Right.
like, oh, you know, every time I talk to my mom and to my dad, this is, then don't talk 2 hours a day.
Right.
You can still love your parents and spend 5 minutes. If they bring you negativity and toxicity, and they bring you like, hey, by the way, you belong to this. This is a bullshit. This is the voodoo shit. You know what I mean? Like when I started going to Tony Robbins in 2000, it's like, oh, that's a cult. I just want to be better. This shit doesn't
But it's
work.
threatening to people.
You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
like, you know,
Right.
and then I left. Like first I left.
By the way, who told you it was a cult?
Oh, my parents, my
Okay.
family, my family.
Why?
Because, you know, I'm
Threatening.
Yeah, because I'm getting out of the
Threatening.
family unit,
Exactly.
the
That's right.
generational, you know what I mean, programming.
Right.
It's like, no, you here, we Polish, we just got here, we immigrants. I'm like,
Who were you to question?
yeah, I'm like,
Yeah.
no, I'm not doing this shit. It's like, yeah.
Right. But
Yeah.
it's threatening. I mean, that's the thing that I think men have to realize. Once you start, I mean, again, I keep going back to the Matrix. What happened when Neo just even started thinking maybe there's something wrong and I need to explore it? The agents immediately descend upon him and are trying to kill him. They're trying to, remember, they take him in, you can't say anything, bandage his mouth, put a tracker on him because it's threatening.
Mm-hmm.
You're part of a system.
Yep.
Whether that's your
The
family,
ecosystem.
your
Yep.
friends, your kids, your wife, whatever. All these people depend on you to not change because a lot of times men end up waking up and realizing, and this is the story of Atlas Shrugged, it's like realizing that you end up living in a life where everybody feels entitled to your time, to your attention, to your money, to whatever else it is. And you built a system that they depend upon. So they need you to not question the system, right? Shut up, go along, don't question it. By the way, churches need you to do this, governments need you to do this, right? Mm-hmm. So it's okay to have religious, political beliefs, we all do, but you want to make sure they're your beliefs, right? And that you don't feel obligated, that you're doing things out of choice, not out of obligation. And
they bring all their failures. They just waiting, and you feel a little bit in someone's like, you see, haha, we got you back.
right, because they know how to get you back.
Yeah.
They know how to get you back.
Yeah. Because that's your safety.
That's your safety, and they know how to get you back. And so whenever you start doing things that challenge the system, you'll find friends will start challenging it. Wives, girlfriends, family members will start challenging it because no one wants you to rock the boat. No one wants you to challenge the system. But that's kind of the obligation you have to yourself, which is really, like we talked about, the one obligation we kind of, most men forget about is like, what about me, right? What do I owe to myself, right? To be true to myself. And they put that all the way last. It comes after everything, right? And at a certain point, you start going, I'm actually going to start prioritizing that. That's really threatening to a lot of people in your life. And if you're in, for example, if you're in a relationship where you're providing a great life for the woman that you're with, and, she's able to keep you doing the things she wants you to do because you don't feel quite good enough, and she knows how to kind of manipulate that subtly, you're going to have to question that. You're going to have to set new boundaries, and it might mean that you're not in that relationship anymore. It might mean that you kind of restructure the relationship, reset the relationship, but you need to do that with everything in your life. That's the hard work.
Good.
But let's be clear with people. On the other side is a really good life, a much more happy, empowered life.
Eric, here's your camera. Somebody's going through struggle, depression, suicide attacks, anxiety, really struggling right now with the old software, old programming, is unhappy, is miserable, doesn't know what to do, is on the last, he thinks it's bottom of the bottom. Here's your camera, word of advice, a minute, how would you talk to them?
Yeah, I would say, look, if you're really suffering and you know that there's something wrong and you know that you're not happy and you can't really pinpoint why it is, but you're feeling restless or you're doing drugs or you're just feeling generally depressed, there is absolutely, unequivocally a better life for you. And it starts with doing this inner work. It starts with understanding what you really believe about yourself and the world and how that's manifested itself in the relationships and in the kinds of things that you've seen. Look for patterns in your life and start looking at what would you have to believe about yourself to have been attracting those patterns. That's where the work really begins. And I can promise you that while there's some bumpy road ahead, as with anything, as with being great at a job, being successful, building a great body, it all involves work and it involves some discomfort. On the other side of that, you can actually become the man that you really want to be, that that you deserve to be, but that you're not right now.
Thank you, brother. Where people can find you, follow you?
Yeah, absolutely. So my Instagram is Eric F as in Forrest, Galen, Galen. You can also find me at ericgalen.com. And look, if any of this resonates and if you're really going through it, DM me.
Perfect. Thank you. You know what to do. Like us, subscribe us, share somebody who can hear this. And I appreciate you. Love life. Thank you, brother.
Thank you for listening. Leave your comments and subscribe for more insights on mastering the inner and outer wealth.